Welcome to Board Game Empire. We're going to be showing you a brief overview and our review of Fable, the Spirit Lands. So this is a game coming out on Kickstarter, right?
Kickstarter Game Pack.
One of the crowdfunding sites. We'll be putting the link in the description. But it's so this is the prototype. Just keep that in mind. Basically, you are trying to collect the most books of sun, which are the ones with the little suns on them. There's 4 different types of books. Books of prairies, books of mountains, books of forest, and books of sun. So you're collecting these books and you'll be converting to get to the sun books, basically. You'll be converting prairies into mountains, mountains into forests, and forests eventually into sun books. And the one with the most books of sun at the end of the game wins. So you do this through placing your sages on location cards when you place them. You'll be going through the numbered paths. Some of them continue on to the next card. Some are dead ends. When they're dead ends, you go to the Fable place that's at that dead end. You choose whether you want to collect the reward, which I don't know why you wouldn't want to, but you have the choice of not and just bringing it back to your reserves. You leave it there until you need to move it again, and then when it has to move off the path, if there's no path for it to go to, you bring it back to your reserves. I did have an ally. There's allies as well. You start the game with 1, and then you could collect more as the game progresses. But my ally allowed me to, instead of returning it to my reserve on a dead-end path, I could pay 1 prairie book to be able to move it to the next available path as if it went through. So that helped me a lot in just keeping my sages on the location so they're collecting rewards quicker. Because normally you have to have the corresponding book. So in this case, you would need the forests, the mountains, or the prairie book. You would need one of those, plus additional prairie books for each location of that same type that's already down. So you're just basically creating a long row. You can place them to the left or right of the existing ones or in between. You're just creating a long row of location cards to give your sages paths to follow, and they get rewards that are shown on those. So to play another one, you have to have the corresponding book plus prairie books to cover any duplicate of the same type. So that's the importance of always having some of those books. And there's locations on here that get you lots of the prairie books. There seems to be a lot of those that get you those, because that's the lowest one, but that's also the main commodity for things like that. There's also the journey tokens. This is the time tracker. As you go through the time and you pass, or actually land on, because it's each round, there's 10 rounds. When there's a journey token beside the round you're on, you pause and do the action that corresponds with that. It allows, you do get another ally. And they're actually different for the scenarios. We played scenario 1. We did not play the beginner one because the beginner one did not include the event cards. And we wanted to get the full experience. So we did scenario 1, which they stated would be the one you would play the most. There's a scenario guide and there's a rule book. It's the cornerstones of the universe. So it has all the same rules as the basic game, but you can choose 1 of 2 event decks to play with. We played with the, which one did we play with? I think In the World of Spirits is the one we had. Does it say? I'm not sure which one that one is, but there's no special rules in that one, and it just follows the base rules. If you do different scenarios, I think it changes the tokens you would be using, because though different things happen, the event cards are different, there's special rules. So there's, how many scenarios are there? There's 5 different scenarios. So You could play this solo, co-op, competitive. So there's a lot of variations to this game and a lot of ways to play it, which would definitely add replayability because you can make it a totally different game every time if you wanted. And I could see how this would be a great solo game. It would be an excellent solo. We played it as a 2-player game, but it would be excellent as a solo game as well.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
This would be amazing to play even by yourself.
I will warn you, though, there is a lot to this game. This is definitely a complex game. It's not for beginners by any means. And even as we've played a ton of board games, and the basic mechanics felt familiar enough to where that was easy. So it was more about picking up the nuances of this game. But there's so much to remember in this game that it was just there is a player aid. There were some symbols that aren't on the player aid, so we did have to look at the book some, but they have a good player aid for the Fabled places, so you know exactly what those little icons mean and what they do. During the action phase, you get 1 of 4 choices. You can take 2 books of Prairies. You could perform 1 or 2 conversions, so that's where you're converting books into the higher next tier.
Remember, you're trying to get the sun. That's the only one that counts as points.
Right. You can make one of your sages take a step, or you can add a new location card. The cool thing is, after that round is where you call out, what do they call it? After you add the new location, it's where you...
Oblivion?
No, it's before Oblivion. It's where you're just calling out which type of card. So right here, like if you have sages on 2 different forest location cards, so you would say, I'm calling out forest. Every sage you have that's on any forest location will move 2 steps. It's mandatory. They have to move 2 steps. And some of them you could see you have 2. Like when the mountain ones start out with 2 sages because it has 2 separate paths. You put 1 on each of the ones. But you could easily have 2 sages on a different type because, when you're moving from location to location, especially with my case, with my Pathfinder ally, that made that very possible. So you're moving all your sages on those locations. If you're the active player and you called out the location type card, all your sages on those cards are moving 2, whereas your opponent's sages move 1. And again, that's mandatory. So sometimes it forces you to go to a dead end, but again, those dead ends are rewards because they're fabled places that you get stuff. So, and let's see, what else am I missing? The allies, some of them have little tokens.
Oh yeah, I love the allies.
Yeah, mine didn't have tokens. His did that allowed him to build up to extra things. There's feature tokens. You can unlock the features, which is part of it. For us, it was part of the journey tokens. It allowed you to unlock 1 feature. So you put that little clover down on the bottom of your ally card, and that means that feature is now open for you to use whenever it's applicable. The allies were very helpful. They did a lot. I used mine a lot, and I know he used his quite a bit as well. But there's a lot to this game, but at the same time, it's if you've played games, it's a lot of studying. You feel like you're studying for
how many
school.
pages? 31.
Let's see, because it's going into the solo part.
So it'd be written probably for like 10, 20 minutes. Unless you're a speed reader and...
Like 20 pages.
Yeah, for the gap. Because you're trying to make sure you're looking at the steps as you're reading.
Do need to thoroughly... There is no playing as you go in this game. We read up to page... You have to kind of familiarize yourself with the game. Because there's a lot of little things. And then we did that, basically. We read through it, and then we used it...
it's a reference.
Yeah, as we were playing. We going through all the steps to make sure we were doing it right. But second game, if you're playing the same scenario, definitely, even if you're not, the scenarios just add different events and different tokens. Second game, you would have it down. And the events I didn't cover, they basically, for us, it was all good stuff. It was basically allowing you to, for instance, this one, after adding a location, your sage in that location, both of your sages and mountains can take one additional step. So it was all good stuff that it gave you like bonuses, it felt like. And then this, like the last card we got was very helpful. Once per turn during your action phase, you may take 2 actions instead of 1.
Yeah.
Especially near end of game, that was very helpful. Yeah. So, yeah, I like the event cards. In this particular one, there was no bad ones. I don't know if in the other scenarios they are or not. But so, what did you think about this game?
All right. So for component quality, I really like the design illustration of this game. I like also the little component here with the time tracker and the events. And then also all the pretty much familiars or allies you could get. I mean, there's a whole list of them, and they all do different things. Well illustrated, the font's easy to read. So they thought of everything. The book, pretty much the rule book is well designed. It's
very well written.
Yeah, and so it was easy to follow because there's no video that we can watch. So, but component quality, really, really enjoyed it. They thought of everything. So for the mechanics, I really like the mechanics aspect of this game. It's hard enough, but easy. It's both kind of hard and easy because some of the mechanics are easy, but then some of them are more complex because you have to constantly reference like your allies and make sure you get those bonuses that you do during
the event card.
Yeah, the event card. So you have to kind of make sure you're looking at everything before you end your turn. Also, you want to make sure you get all the rewards you get from the steps. So really enjoy the mechanics. Replayability, high replayability because you can play this as competitive. I think this is also cooperative. And then solo, I really do think this could be an amazing solo game. We haven't played it yet solo, but I can see it because it just shows that it could be a good solo game. So overall total, I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. I think this is a phenomenal game. I think another thing that hurts it is, I guess, I can't think of anything. Maybe that it's a little hard, more complex, and a lot of micromanaging. But I do think it's well illustrated and everything. I think that a lot of people are going to love this game, and I hope they come out with an expansion or more aspects to the game that they can add. Because I do think that this, as it gets bigger and bigger, will be a very popular game. So what did you think?
I really enjoyed this, even though my head was hurting, because, we were learning there was no video to reference. We were learning by reading the rules, and we did mess up a few times, of course, because we were learning, so we had to backtrack a little. But that's how it is in any game, especially a big game that has so many different aspects to it. The artwork is beautiful. I love the artwork. We're both big on art, and so I love the feeling I have looking at some of these cards, like this particular event deck, like, not to sound flaky, but that one, we both felt that one, like, because we had a choice of 2. I didn't even tell him which one I wanted. I asked him, which one are you wanting? And so I was already thinking that one. So we were on the same wavelength on that. And just the strategy, there's so much strategy because there's really no luck in this game because you're basically planning your moves. You don't get either of it. There's no take that in this game, none. You do not, as many sages there could be as many sages on each path space. There's no blocking. You never interfere at all with the other person's play. So just because they're on the space doesn't mean you can't move there or move past them. So it's all strategy. So you always have these 6 location cards to choose from. They do go away. If there's no sages on a location card, they go into the oblivion at the end of your turn. So there's that. I mean, if you want to keep that location card, you want to make sure you get a sage on it. Or so there's so much strategy of figuring out, especially because I had at one point, you could see I had 6 sages out there. So a lot of times they move together in certain times, or you can move them one at a time as one of your actions. But and there's also extra little bonus steps you get. You can allocate those between all of your sages. If you get 4 or 5 steps, you can allocate between all of them if you want. So there's so much strategy in moving your sages effectively on the locations, trying to keep them on there if you can, to go to another path, a main path or all of them, or get into the Fabled place of something you really need. Like you might need those Prairie Books so you can build up. Some of them you get forest books, some of them you get the winter books, or mountains, sorry, I keep calling them winter, but mountain books. So there's a lot of strategy. Then the event ties in, you got to kind of keep that in mind of the extra things you could do that'll help you. The conversions, it's a balance. You want to be constantly converting your books to move up to getting those sun books, because if you don't, I mean, you only get 10 rounds. If you're not actively converting, you're not going to have very many sun books at the end of the game. I mean, we were 1 apart. Yeah. So he could have converted, he just ran out of actions and sages. And so it could have been a tie in that sense, but he just needed 1 more turn to do that. So it's very important to start as soon as you can converting and trying to build up to that. And there's just so much strategy to this game. And then your allies, I mean, each of them do their own thing. So yeah, it's a thinker, but in a good way. Like we thoroughly enjoyed this game. I will say this won't make it to the table that often, mainly because it is, it's one of those games you have to be in the mood to play, but it also satisfies when you are in that mood, and gamers will know what I'm talking about. When you're in the mood to play like a complex game you have to be in the mood for that, like strategy.
It's also a relaxing game, like throughout the whole game.
Because there's no cutthroat.
Yeah, so.
But you have to be in the mode for that, for a strategy game. And this is one of those that you just have to be in the mode. But it's satisfying at the same time, because you have full control the whole time, basically, of what you're going to do, because you get to choose your actions.
There is no undercutting your opponent. Yeah,
there's no dice. You know it's either going to be 1 step or 2 steps that you're moving. So I would give this an 8 for sure. And this would definitely, for us, make it to the table several times a year at least. If we didn't have so many games and a board game channel, probably more than that, to be honest. Yeah. But with our hobby of the board game channel, it would definitely be one of the games we bring out on those few times a year where we get to choose whatever game we want to play, because we have extra time to do so. So we will put the link in the description. We hope you'll check this out. Right now, I'm not sure which crowdfunding site it's going to be on, but it'll be on one of them. You should get on there and follow it so you know when it comes out. Again, this is a prototype, so even though this is amazing as a prototype, it'll be cool to see what they come up with in the actual final product. So thank you for watching. Please feel free to leave a comment or a question. We hope you'll give this video a like, share it with your friends so they can check out this cool game. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, and thank you again for watching.